Hey everybody, happy game day and welcome to the GameQuest, a Volquest.com game day podcast presented by our great friends over at Spivey, Cain, and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers, a free consultation today by picking up the phone. You can dial 423-245-4185. That is 423-245-4185 or online at Spivey, Cain, and Spivey LLP.com. Tennessee is 2-1, coming off a tough loss to Georgia, 2-1 back at home this week before the SEC play resumes next week on the road in Starkville. UAB coming into town, 2-1 is the record, and a team that is trying to regroup from a really bad 2024 campaign. They've made some strides in some areas, still got a long way to go in other areas. End of the day, Grant Ramey, this is a game that Tennessee, according to our friends over at BetMGM, favored by 39.5 points. That total is a hair under 70. This is one of those games that Tennessee should win as much by as whatever Tennessee wants to win by.
Yeah, I think it started at 37.5, so it's gone up a couple points in just a couple days, which when the spread's that big to start with and it's still going up, I think that tells you what you need to know about this game, about this matchup. It's interesting because it's Trent Dilfer as the head coach. It's interesting because Jalen Kitna, the son of John Kitna of Florida transfer, is the quarterback. So they've got some names, but at the same time, you lost 2 weeks ago by 14 at Navy. No disrespect to the Naval Academy or the troops or the service academies, but
Whoa,
you don't want to lose by 14 to the service academies. That was disrespectful. I shouldn't have said that. Let's go back to week 1 or week 0, whatever it was, when they beat Alabama State 52-42, and I think they were down early in that game in the first half, maybe down 10 or something like that. So they had to come back, find a way to win that football game. They gave up 42 points against an Alabama State team that's not ideal. So yeah, it's a 39.5 point spread for a reason. Should be a not really a get right game because I don't think Tennessee has really anything to get right from, but a bounce back game from a tough Georgia loss on Saturday.
Yeah, we'll get to UAB a little bit and kind of talk about what we want to see in this game, any of the personnel that can scare Tennessee potentially. But kind of on that note, it's not really a get right game because what does Tennessee have to get right? I mean, sure, there's some things you got to clean up defensively, no doubt, offensively, even second quarter woes. Try to avoid that lull, but something I've been talking about on Lockdown Balls all week, and we briefly mentioned this on the Tuesday podcast. I want to ask you, Grant, because you weren't on that show. I mean, leaving Neyland Stadium Saturday night, do you feel better or worse about Tennessee? Because, I mean, despite the loss, it's a heartbreaking loss, and I understand Tennessee had that game won 4 times, and it's frustrating. I'm not saying it's not, but do you feel better or worse about Tennessee? Because I think the easy answer is you feel better about Tennessee, right? Because show that Tennessee and what we think is going to be a good Georgia team, in my opinion, probably the best team Tennessee will play this year, if not top 2. And you force them to overtime, but not only that, I mean, the offense was humming. I mean, that's Kirby Smart defense. I know there's not, Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and some of those other guys. They still got good linebackers. No Keely Ringo. Still got KJ Bolden in the back end. I mean, that's what Tennessee did offensively. I was very impressed with. So I left, despite the defensive struggles, feeling better about Tennessee than I did entering that game.
I mean, from the fan perspective, you leave that game thinking of how close it was, what could have been, how huge of a win that is if that kick just does go through the uprights. So that's gonna cloud your judgment for a while because of how close you were. But the farther you get away from it, I should say the further you get away from it, that's my own pet peeve, and I can't even get it right. The offense in the first quarter was unbelievable. Incredible. Could not have been more efficient, could not have been more productive. They did it in different ways, big plays. They didn't sustain drives. Joey was incredible, 14-14, 213 and 2 touchdowns, the touchdown run. Also, just as impressive, the lull they went through in the second quarter, the lull they had in the third quarter where Joey's missing some throws. Brandon Staley falls down, he throws a pick. The place is dead. It's Georgia's kind of taking the life out of the building there for a minute. It looks like Georgia's going to, win by 14 plus. And for them to respond to that and to flip the switch the way they did with that late touchdown in the third quarter and to, what they did in the fourth quarter, all the momentum they created after it looked like they were dead on arrival to start the second half, I thought that was huge. That's a huge response. You scored 41 points, like you said, against a Kirby Smart defense, despite the fact that you didn't really do that much in the second quarter. You didn't do anything until late in the third quarter. And your quarterback went through a lull and snapped out of it. And was really, really good. And when they had to go down the field to set up a field goal, they went down the field and set up a field goal. Obviously, there's some errors along the way. You can't jump off sides when you're trying to line up a field goal. Josh Heupel's certainly not the first coach in history to try to line up a field goal. He did so right there. You jump off sides, that hurts you, and you miss the field goal badly. And as soon as that field goal misses, you're thinking it's going to be impossible to recover in overtime because of what you just had on the line and that new life that you give to a really, really good Georgia team. It's going to be hard to overcome that. So when you kind of factor all that stuff in, the more down the road you get away from that loss, the better you're going to feel about it. But in the moment, you just think about what could have been.
Yeah, what could have been that signature win that you carried around in your back pocket all throughout the season. Now, I mean, you can certainly afford to lose another game, but you better handle all your business in games you're supposed to. That's Mississippi State on the road. That's Kentucky. That's Arkansas at home. Oklahoma at home was always going to be a challenge. You better win that one. And then, of course, you got the two big ones on the road at Alabama and, of course, Florida. I don't care what Florida looks like right now. Maybe this is an indictment on LSU, and we'll talk more big picture SEC stuff here in a moment. I mean, DJ Lagway threw 5 picks or whatever, and he had LSU that won by 10 at home. That was super embarrassing. But you got those two games, place you hadn't won since 2003. And then, I mean, hell, you got Vanderbilt at the end of the year now. Right. Vanderbilt's top 25 team, and they're playing some good football. So I think the schedule overall gotten tougher first 3 weeks of the year. The teams that you thought were going to be easier games are now, sure, especially according to the ESPN matchup predictor, Tennessee's still heavy favorites for the most part, but they're not as going on the road to Starkville, Mississippi State is certainly going to be a task now, right. Whereas back in the summer, I did not think that it would be that big of a challenge. Although any game on the road in the SEC is difficult. Look at Tennessee and Arkansas last year.
I mean, Mississippi State, you have more to play for if you're Mississippi State because you're off to a 3-0 start because you've got a ranked win over Arizona State. I think that was their first ranked non-conference win since the early 90s, so that doesn't happen very often. That's a playoff team a year ago. I think Tennessee, it helps that it's not a night game. You don't have to sit around and think about it all day. You just get to go out there and play. It's a little bit earlier in the afternoon, 4:15 on that kickoff time, so that's a big deal. Taylor Green's looked really, really good. Obviously, that's a home game with Arkansas on October 11th. You got to be able to take care of business there. Going to Alabama is what it is. I think it's kind of tricky that you have to go to Kentucky right after Alabama. Back-to-back road games are never easy, but Josh's Tennessee teams have always played well in Lexington and found ways to win those games, played well against Kentucky in general. Oklahoma, it's looking tougher by the day because of John Mateer, and they've got some new life there, and they're projected to be a playoff team early on here in the season. And what Vanderbilt's done, man, not that Virginia Tech's any good, but to score 24 straight in the second half in Blacksburg and win that game the way they did, and then to go to South Carolina and play a night game, and obviously I know the North Sellers got knocked out of that game, and that changes everything drastically for South Carolina like it would for any team if you lose your quarterback, especially one as talented as that guy. But 31-7 is 31-7. That's a big deal. They're playing really good football. I don't know what they're going to look like in November. Who knows? But it's looking tougher by the day. And then obviously Florida is Florida. You got to go to Gainesville. You make a good point. Throw 5 picks, you only lose by 10 in Baton Rouge on a Saturday night. That's pretty commendable given where they are. And the question is, is Napier still the head coach November 22nd in Gainesville? What do they do between now and then? Because it feels like they play a top 10 team every single week between now and then with their schedule. But somebody asked in the Monday night chat, is Mississippi State the trickiest game left on schedule? There's a lot of tricky games left on schedule. That's life in the SEC. There's no gimmies. You got to avoid some landmines. You got to take care of business in games. You got to take care of business in. You got to hope to find a couple tough road wins along the way.
It's funny. I was talking to one of my buddies who's a big Gators fan. I know, right? We all have maybe one of those friends. Maybe pick better friends. I don't have many friends, right?
All you can do is pray for them.
Yeah, all you can do is pray for them. But he was, and here's something interesting I didn't know. And again, this is why anybody that's on the beat like we are should never vote in the AP poll because you just don't know, right? Get a load of this, man. If I ask you how many touchdowns Florida's defense this year has allowed, how many would you say?
Florida's defense, how many touchdowns? Well, 20-10, 18-16. 3?
2.
2. Wow.
Florida is 1-2.
And they've given up 2 touchdowns.
The team has given up 2 touchdowns, 2 defensive touchdowns on the year.
That's hard to do, man.
That's very hard to do. Giving up a lot of field goals, a couple turnovers, pick 6 in there, but maybe 2 pick 6s, 1 pick 6 for sure. Anyway, that defense has given up 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns given up, 2 losses. The offense just been a train wreck so far. So anyway, back to what we're saying. Florida is going to be a challenge because Florida is always a challenge to Tennessee. But yeah, it should be interesting. But I mean, kind of going back to what we thought about this team, better or worse, and all that. And I just think it's so funny, man. It's why you go out and play the game. And we work for a recruiting site, and it's an impossible job, right? But you have a 5-star number 1 overall player in the country, and he didn't sniff a stat line like that against Georgia or Alabama or anything like that. Now, Nico made a big throw to beat Alabama last year. I'm going to give him credit there, but that stat line against Georgia, he didn't even sniff it. Joe Milton, who's got backup quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, got an arm stronger than anybody in the world, couldn't do that. Wasn't in the same stratosphere as what Joey Aguilar was in. Hendon Hooker, best quarterback Heupel's ever had here, and best quarterback in recent memory since Joshua Dobbs, and certainly on that playing field. I mean, he struggled against Georgia for sure. So it's so funny. You have all those quarterbacks that have higher pedigrees, especially with Nico and Joe, and then you throw Joey Aguilar out there, 2 years at JUCO, 2 years at App State, cup of coffee at UCLA, only getting to play this year because Diego Pavia ruling. I mean, college football in 2025 is so drunk. And comes in here mid-May, wins the job, and he's going out there and doing this. I mean, it's awesome, man. And I said before the Georgia game, like, if Joey Aguilar wins this game, I mean, you talk about the story, it's already good. I mean, the dude becomes a legend, no doubt. And Tennessee didn't win that game, but boy, just seeing his stat line and what he did, and he had 2 picks. I'm not too beat up about those 2 picks. I don't think that they were that bad, but that stat line, almost 400 yards passing, 5 total touchdowns. It's credible, man. I mean, this is such a phenomenal story happening right here in Knoxville.
Yeah, I mean, the first pick was basically an arm punt.
Yeah.
I don't remember that it hurt Tennessee too badly in the moment. The second pick is a combination of Braylon Staley falling down and Joey not being, I don't know if he didn't recognize that quickly enough, if he'd already released the ball. I haven't watched the replay of that play since it happened. But just the way the first quarter played out, like, against that defense, you got to have that start. You got to have that fast start. I'm not saying 21 points and go 3 for 3 on touchdown drives your first 3 drives. That's beyond anything you could ask for. But just the way they kind of methodically moved the ball down the field the first drive, then Georgia goes back down and scores. Then they score on the big play to Chris Brazzell where he's wide open, and Joey kind of he did underthrow him, and Chris had to come back, and he did a really good job fighting through the contact, adjusting in the air, catching the ball, keeping his feet, and then scoring. And then kind of Kirk Herbstreit mentioned this on the broadcast. That third drive, Georgia kind of takes away the big play, and Joey just kind of takes whatever's underneath. Miles Kitzelman, Braylon Staley, mixing in some runs, all that stuff. That's the stuff that's impressive to me, the different ways they've done it and how he's just been taking what's there. He's been accurate with it way more often than not, putting it somewhere that receivers not only can catch it, but can catch it and run, can catch it and get upfield, leading his receivers where he needs to lead them. That's been impressive. And it's just the kind of the coolness factor, the calmness factor. Like, there's a shot of him on the bench after that third touchdown in the first quarter against Georgia, and he's just sitting back like nothing's really happening. And he was 14 for 14 for 213 yards and 3 total touchdowns. Like,
mind you, the guy's never played in a stadium with a crowd,
in that kind of atmosphere. Like, that atmosphere is as good as it gets in those kind of games, early in the season, rivalry game, all that stuff. Neyland Stadium, it is what it is. Like, it's incredible, and he just seemed very kind of unfazed, and he seemed unfazed in the second half when things weren't going well. He just needed that one deep ball to kind of change everything. And the way he bounced back, like I was talking about earlier, was very impressive. But it's almost kind of like, I don't want to throw this comparison out there because it's kind of unfair at this point in the season, but Dalton Knecht got here. Nobody knew what to expect. Like, he was supposed to help Tennessee basketball that season. He was here, but nobody really knew what he was. He was from Northern Colorado. He'd been through JUCO. He'd been through all that stuff. And he finds somewhere where he's got talent around him. He's got a really good supporting cast, and he just becomes the star. That's kind of what it feels like with Joey Aguilar. He stepped in here. He's got big play guys around him, and he's finding ways to get the ball to those guys to make those big plays.
It's funny too, though, because like Dalton Knecht, at least like you heard some chatter in the summer. It's like, oh, this dude's for real. Like, wait, watch out for this guy. Like, and again, like, you can't go out and do 7-on-7, 11-on-11 indie drills, for the most part in football, like in the month of June and July. But like, you heard some chatter about Knecht, and like this, like, you just had no clue. I mean, you saw what he was. You saw that he liked to throw a lot. He liked to turn it over. I mean, completion percentage wasn't that great. you had no clue how that was going to adapt for Joey Aguilar, and here it is. And again, 3 games in, like there's a long way to go. Hopefully he stays healthy the entire time. Injuries are part of the game, and hopefully nobody gets hurt on Tennessee's roster or any roster. But it's early, but like boy, it's been a really really good start.
What's kind of
Joey
crazy, where we're going with quarterbacks in football seems like it's almost better to have the journeyman guy that's been around for a while. Like even in the NFL, you look at Baker Mayfield, like his career was kind of dead on arrival. Now he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's had this resurgence because he's like 3 teams down the line, and he's been through a bunch in that league. Sam Darnold last year, he had a resurgence with the Vikings. He's been through it. He's had his struggles. He was kind of dead on arrival.
Our boy Ryan Tannehill a couple years ago with the Titans.
Ryan Tannehill, yeah. There's a lot of different examples of these guys where it might be better to have that veteran guy that's been through a bunch of stuff, a bunch of different situations, had to kind of climb the ladder and do a bunch of different stuff versus, relying on a freshman or a sophomore who doesn't really have much experience other than being, a big name prospect with a bunch of stars by his name. Like, you want those guys, obviously, in your recruiting classes on your campus, and you want to build through that. But, there's something to be said for getting these guys that are 5 years into it, and they've been, they've been playing in 500-seat JUCO stadiums, and they've kind of earned their way up to this level. And just what we've seen with Joey, it almost kind of feels like ignorance is bliss. Like, he doesn't know what the stage he's on. He's just like, all right, I'm going to get these guys the ball and go down the field, and that's what he's done so far.
You mentioned the deep ball a moment ago, and it's funny. Somebody asked about it in the Monday Night Chat, and I'm not knocking the question. Don't hear me wrong, but something about like, well, he's kind of underthrown some of those deep balls. Does that cause for concern or anything? And ironically enough, somebody asked Kelsey Pope about it on Monday, and like my response in the chat was like, so much of those 50-50 balls, so much of those bombs, 40, 50-yard hurls or whatever, like ball in the air, you just want to give your guy a chance.
Right.
And so many times in years past, Nico and Joe did not give them a chance, or when they did give them a chance, it's like the receiver couldn't finish. Or, but now if you just give them a chance, and oftentimes, man, if you underthrow that ball, it sucks to be a defensive back. There's an excellent opportunity to get a PI if you underthrow, working yourself back through the defender. So if you're going to miss, underthrow it in one-on-one because you have an opportunity to get that flag. But just give them a chance. And that was kind of my response in the chat. And that's kind of what Kelsey Pope said. He's like, hey, we'll take those suckers in stride. He did hit Braylon Staley in stride. Great throw against Syracuse. He's like, but 50, 60% of the time, we're just wanting a chance. And then it's up to us to go and high point that football, go work, and bring it down. I think you had the stat, man, and I know you did some explosive plays on the board earlier this week, and I don't know if those are in front of you, but I think I saw where like Tennessee had 3 plays of 70-plus yards in 2024. Tennessee already has 2 this year. I mean, like, it's been pretty incredible. There's been at least 1 shot play, and like in the Georgia game, there were 3 or 2. It's fun to watch, and give Tennessee's receivers credit. Chris Brazzell, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. After year 1, I kind of thought he had soft, need to get more physical. Okay, I'm not trying to down the guy, but I thought that lack of physicality was hurting him. No disrespect, and but boy, he's been super impressive, man. I mean, he fought through some coverage the other day and worked his way back, and maybe got away with a push off. I don't know. Like, point of the matter is, like, he's been so impressive fighting to get to the football, and Mike Matthews as well. Mike Matthews' stat line has not been nearly as impressive as Brazzell's or Braylon Staley, but it's like every time he catches the ball, it's earned because like he's fighting and working through main coverage and fighting through a screen or something like that. I've been really impressed with the wide receivers for Tennessee. I hope this continues, and I think it just goes to show you, like, sure, numbers are thin, no doubt, and Darius Jackson's going to miss a little bit, and he's a key depth piece, but it's like we like, if you're the coaching staff, it's like we like the guys in the room. They just got to go out and get some experience. That's kind of what they're doing right now, and they're looking good.
Brazzell had that really bad drop early against Syracuse that looked like it might have been a touchdown. Like, he was going over the middle. There wasn't anybody there. It looked like he was going to catch that thing and run for a while, and it just hits his hands and goes straight to the turf. That was brutal. But since then, it feels like he has been lights out. And it's not only going deep and finding a way to catch the football. It's the the technique, the route running, all the stuff that he's doing, making tough catches. And not to keep going back to NFL quarterbacks, but Joe Flacco, it feels like for 20 years, has been throwing deep balls that are either A, going to get caught, or B, going to get you a pass interference, and you're going to move the ball way down the field. Obviously, it's not a spot foul in college football the way it is in the NFL. But if you're going to underthrow it, at least you're giving your guy a shot. If you're overthrowing it, nobody has a shot. So
Yeah.
at least you can work back. Now, I did think against Syracuse, against ETSU, a couple of those deep balls that he threw, I thought you're not going to be able to get away with that against Georgia. But he got away with that against Georgia. That first one to Chris Brazzell, he had the defensive back beat by 2 steps. You got to lead him there, and he's scoring easily, not to pick apart a 72-yard touchdown or whatever that was. But the way they have fought back and climbed the ladder and made contested catches and kept their feet, Chris Brazzell, especially the way he's twisted in the air and moved and whatever he had to do to catch the football, making tough catches, has been crazy impressive. You knew going into the season, A, you're thin at receiver. B, you need to go 3 for 3 with Chris Brazzell, Mike Matthews, and Braylon Staley having big years, and they've checked those boxes through 3 games. They've made plays. There have been drops. There have been frustrations early on, but they have bounced back to make some explosive plays and also the intermediate plays that you have to make.
Yeah, there's been times where a receiver slips and it's an interception. We saw that against Georgia. Right. We already brought that up. Like the one against ETSU when you're just saying throw it up and that's not going to cut it against Georgia, like the whole I think I saw it on Twitter and I've just been phrasing it this way ever since. F it, Mike's down there.
Yep.
Throw it up, you know? But like that one was like, I think Brazzell was there, I think Mike Matthews was there, and I think there was one defender. Certainly that will never happen against Georgia, Alabama, and all that. But yeah, just again, you're just throwing it up on one-on-one coverage. As long as you're not throwing it to double coverage, you're putting the ball in a position to where the safety's trailing and you're not throwing to the safety. I just think that's good ball placement. That's kind of what that's what Kelsey Pope said earlier this week. So been super impressed. Love to see some more plays like that today against UAB. Certainly, there should be. This is also one of those empty the bench type games. Quickly before we talk about the Blazers defensively, man, like there was a stretch in that Georgia game where I thought Tennessee's and I think I turned to you and AP and Rob in the press box and said Tennessee's defense is playing great right now. Tennessee's offense better get back in it. Mm-hmm. I thought like Hubs, like Price, like everybody else, when they marched at 14 plays, 75 yards, running the football 13 times to begin the second half, it's over. It's over. Right. I mean, what a demoralizing open to the second half. But then the defense forces a punt. Then the defense on that interception that we talked about, Braylon Staley slipping, short field, forces a field goal. Then you have Georgia driving the length of the field, first and goal from the 6, resulting in a field goal. And I'm like, okay. Next drive, it's the strip sack. Like, Tennessee's defense put things together. And it's ironic because, like, we talk about how, should Tennessee have gone for 2 on that after scoring to make it 34-30, At that point in the game, I'm not here to discuss this, but like my point is like maybe an argument in favor of doing what they did, which is kicking the PAT. You have a defense that hasn't allowed a touchdown in the second half since the opening drive. Like the only touchdowns that they allowed in the second half was the first drive and the last drive. It's unfortunate because those were both killers, but my point is the defense played well in stretches, not consistent enough. Certainly, we were talking about it all week. Colton Hood, Ty Redmond do not need to be playing 90 snaps. They need help in the interior. I don't know if those guys are going to come back today. It's UAB. You don't necessarily need them, but against Mississippi State, you'd love to have Moy. You'd love to have Hobbs. I think the linebackers have got to play better. The linebackers have not played well since Syracuse, in my opinion, and really they left some to be desired in that game as well. So I think this defense is going to be giving up some points this year. Not as much as they've been, but I think they'll give up some points. But I also think that they're going to create some plays. Scoop and scores, forced fumbles, pick sixes, stuff like that. Where are you at on this defense? Disappointing. Gunnar Stockton's better than we thought. I was disappointed in the way that they defended the run. What are your thoughts on Tennessee's defense and knowing that Georgia might be one of the better offenses Tennessee sees all year as well? Didn't have that one on the bingo card coming in.
Right. I mean, I would be more inclined to write them off if they had Jermon McCoy on the field and Ricky Gibson on the field and Jackson Moy and David Hobbs and all these guys that they're missing. Obviously, you got to get Hobbs and you got to get Jackson Moy back as soon as you can. You would hope for Starkville because you've got defensive linemen that are playing too many snaps. I think they bounced back and they held up pretty well, like you're talking about in the second half against Georgia, but you still don't want those guys playing 65 out of 95 snaps. You want to be able to rotate more there, and obviously Jackson Moy is very much more than just a body out there. He's a guy that can change the game on your defensive front. Linebacker play, I agree, got to be better. Secondary play Ty Redmond. I don't blame Georgia for going straight at him. He's a freshman playing in his first SEC game. It's a huge game, obviously. It's a huge stage. I think he's going to be fine. I think Hubbs has written or talked about a lot this week. Can you get Jalen McMurray some snaps at corner to help Ty Redmond? He's going to be fine long run. He's going to be much better for this, Ty Redmond, even though he's been very impressive the first 3 weeks just on his own. But if you could get McMurray snaps there and maybe some more Boo Carter on the field and the star, maybe that helps your backfield or your secondary defensive backfield a little bit. At the same time, you're not going to face Zachariah Branch every single week, which is, obviously a good thing because he can make a lot of people look silly. The speed that he has, the angles you're trying to take on him, he can make a lot of safeties look bad. So I don't think it's not 2024, obviously, on the defensive side. I don't think it's 2022 either. I think it's somewhere in between, and you got to hope that you're going to progress as the year goes on. Maybe you can get some of these guys back, some pieces back on the field, and be better down the road than you are right now. But at the same time, you're averaging 52 points a game, and the offense is humming, and you hope that continues. You don't have to be the 2024 defense, but you don't want to be the 2022 defense either. You're going to have to find some in between there.
Yeah, it's like 2024 had to have that defense,
right?
Had to have that run game. If not, you were not a good football team. You need to have good defense and respectable defense, but you got some punch back in the aerial attack for your offense. So
that's the other thing. The run game against Georgia was not good, and we haven't seen a game with a Josh Heupel offense where you just kept saying, man, they got to run the ball better. They're just not doing it. It's
except
just been
this series, right? I mean, up until last year, Tennessee had not been able to run the football against Georgia. Tennessee finally broke through against Alabama as well in years past. But I mean, it was Alabama and Georgia and Florida early on, and Georgia was really that only team that Josh Heupel couldn't beat, and Josh Heupel couldn't run the football with. Tennessee finally ran the football last year, didn't get the win. But yeah, to your point, I mean, if not for that 27-yard pop from Star Thomas in the second half, Tennessee would have been under 100 yards.
And then that final drive to set up the field goal, they ran the ball very well there. I shouldn't say they didn't run the ball poorly as a whole the entire 60 minutes. I think you got to get more Star Thomas carries. I've been very impressed with him. No offense to Deshaun Bishop. I think he's a good back as well, but I think Star has been the more consistently productive running back, the tougher runner. He's just a bigger dude, so that makes sense. But I'd like to see some more Star Thomas going forward.
Yeah, I think clearly Tennessee's best running back right now is Star Thomas. I think it should be a 1-2 punch of Bishop and Thomas. I don't care who starts, who gets the first carry. It's going to even out. Peyton Lewis, I'm a believer, and I think in a game like this today, and I said this on the Rugged Top Roundtable, like Peyton Lewis needs to have a day today because there's going to be some point in this season when somebody turns an ankle, somebody's going to miss a week or whatever. Think about last year. You had Sampson, and half the year Bishop was out, half the year Lewis was out, and they took turns kind of being that second fiddle to a SEC Offensive Player of the Year in Dylan Sampson. So you're going to need Peyton Lewis, and I think Peyton Lewis, from a skill set wise, should be the best of the bunch. He's just not there yet. So I think today's a big day for a guy like Peyton Lewis. Hey, well, let's come back. Let's continue to talk about UAB. Let's actually talk about the Blazers, who personnel-wise, where they present. Then let's take a look around the SEC. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. In a game like this, there's not a whole lot to talk about with the specific game. But we will talk about the Blazers coming up next. Tennessee and UAB today, 12:45, or if you're listening to this on Friday, tomorrow for 12:45 on the SEC Network. What's up, everybody? I want to tell you about our friends over at Spivey, King and Spivey LLP, presenting sponsor of GameQuest. And I'm so thankful for them. They've helped us out with the porch, Rocky Top Rewind last couple years, GameQuest, and great, fantastic people. If you have a need, and you never know when that need might arise, but sometimes you're in a pickle, right? And you need somebody that will have your back, that will walk you through a lot of things you just don't quite understand. And Spivey King and Spivey LLP can do that in the courtroom and the legal system for you. You got a problem, let them find a solution for you. T&N Trial Lawyers, they specialize family law and personal injury, examples of which DUI, assault, divorce, custody, alimony, parental rights, car wrecks, accidents, injuries, whatever those cases may be. Spivey King and Spivey can have your back. 80 years of combined experience. Spivey King and Spivey LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. The practice has been in place for 43 years with this specific partnership of Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey since 2012. Northeast Tennessee is where they practice. Tri-Cities of Sullivan County, Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas. But pick up the phone today if you have a need, and they're going to help you out. They've won awards, Mid-South, real trial experience. Whether you've been in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or been accused of a crime, Spivey King and Spivey LLP is here to help you. Free consultation 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at Spivey King and SpiveyLLP.com. You got a problem? Let them find a solution for you. That is TN Trial Lawyers. And Whataburger, all right? So there's a new one on the Strip. There's one coming to PAL here pretty soon, and I'm jacked up and pumped up about it. Love me some Whataburger. And Saturday morning, right, you got an early game, 12:45. Those tailgates going to be early show-up time. So you can start your morning with breakfast that you deserve at Whataburger. Plenty of options to choose from. You could go a sweet, crispy honey butter chicken biscuit or a breakfast bowl with savory sausage or bacon, maybe a big tasty breakfast burger with extra bacon and avocado. Whatever you want, just like it. Whataburger serves breakfast from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And again, those early tailgates starting today for Tennessee and UAB. Get your day started with our friends over at Whataburger. Welcome back into GameQuest, Volquest.com Game Day Podcast. I am Eric Cain alongside Grant Ramey, Tennessee and UAB, 1245 Neyland Stadium on the SEC Network. All right, let's talk quickly about this UAB personnel-wise. You mentioned earlier, of course, Trent Dilfer, former NFL quarterback, former head coach at Lipscomb Academy. It's been mentioned a couple times this week. He coached, yes, he did. He coached Caleb Beasley, Edwin Spillman. I don't think that they're going to rely on those two guys for game planning, but nonetheless, coached those two guys in high school, made the move to UAB a couple years ago. It has not gone well. Last year, defensively, boy, was it just, it was like Mississippi State level bad. Maybe not that bad. So far, UAB's not been good defensively at all. Trying to look, I mean, they got a new DC. They only left one. They only have one holdover that was on staff defensively last year. That's safeties coach CJ Cox. Kind of cleaned house in that regard, but they gave up like almost 400 yards total offense, 34.3 points per game. So far, they're averaging 472 yards of total offense, 218 yards on the ground, 36 points per game. So there's not been any improvement there. I think that bodes well, obviously, to get the run game. Feeling good about that here today. Tons of transfers on the defensive side of the football, as you'd expect from a unit that was so bad. They have a safety that returns. It's a pretty good player, Cyril Bryant. That's about it. Offensively, John Kitna, former Florida quarterback, son of NFL quarterback.
Jalen Kitna, son of John Kitna. There you go.
Oh, I wrote John Kitna there. Jalen Kitna, son of John Kitna, longtime Lions, maybe Bengals. He probably made the trifecta with the Browns. He's on some bad football teams.
At least he didn't have to play for the Bears. That was lucky for him.
Yeah. Anyway, Jalen Kitna, he started at Florida. He's at UAB right now. He's all right. 892 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. I've had 3 picks. He's completing 70% of his throws. They do a lot of short intermediates around the line of scrimmage, screen game, and I think that's something Hub's brought up on the roundtable as well. That's something they're going to test Tennessee because Tennessee hasn't been very good at defending that so far this year. Again, what an opportunity today against teams that you're bigger, faster, stronger than to get those live game reps and things that other teams are going to try to get after you with. Averaging 35 points per game, 451 yards of total offense, 303 yards through the air, 148 on the ground, so a much better throwing team. Turn the football over a little bit. They were minus 13 last year, already minus 2 this year. They've thrown 3 picks, actually minus 3 this year. They've thrown 3 picks, fumbled once, and the defense has only got 1 turnover, or 1 takeaway, I should say. So I mentioned Jalen Kitna. Running back, they've got UTEP transfer Jevin Jackson. I remember writing about him in the first glance last year, averaging 6 yards per carry, so he's been pretty decent for them this year, 3 touchdowns. Isaiah Jacobs, Solomon Beebe, also in the backfield. Out of wide receiver, they have 2 guys that are studs, Milliner and Hooks, Corey Milliner, Iverson Hooks. Brandon Hawkins Jr. is a guy that's done some things. Offensive line, they're replacing 4 starters. They brought back 1 starter. Again, Tennessee should just do whatever it wants to. Special teams, I do think, is going to be an area where Tennessee better be on its toes today. Solomon Beebe has made some noise returning kicks, which I think Tuberville is just going to boot it through the end zone every time. But he's returned 11 on the year, averaging 30 yards per return, 1 touchdown of 96 yards on a return. Iverson Hooks has done pretty good returning punts, 12 yards per return. been okay kicking field goals. Punting's been good. So anyway, that's a little bit of a look at UAB. Anything about the Blazers that stands out? A Blazers team that has scored, I don't know what it is, but they're a horrific second half football team in 3 games.
Yeah, just the defensive numbers stand out. Giving up 42 to Alabama State, like we talked about to start this pod, is a big deal. That's a cause for concern in week 1, obviously. Gave up 38 at Navy. That's a cause for concern. I mean, Trent Dilfer, that's a tough spot. It feels to me, and maybe I don't know if you agree with this or not, but the divide is getting wider between these kind of programs and the Tennessee kind of programs, the top tier programs during the transfer portal era. And I know obviously UAB takes advantage of the portal as well, and they're going to fill their roster with guys that maybe played at a lower level and stood out, just like Tennessee's trying to pick apart other, smaller programs. Every program in the country is trying to find those guys that deserve a bigger opportunity. But it feels like in the portal era, like I don't know if this is a 40-point spread maybe 10 years ago. It feels like these programs had a little bit of a better shot. I don't know. You agree with that or not?
Well, just think about it. I mean, if you're at a high school and say you're a late bloomer, let's take Arion Carter for an example.
Mm-hmm.
Arion Carter was going to Memphis to play running back up until midway through his senior season in high school. Goes to Memphis. Say he starts out a running back, says like, oh, well, this guy can actually play linebacker. They put him over at linebacker. Say he's an All-American for his last 2 years. He can't leave, right?
Right.
He could leave and transfer down, or he could leave and have to sit out a year. But I mean, that's kind of like a death sentence, to have to sit out a year in your prime, in your window. So I think those guys that were late bloomers that went to programs like UAB, they were stuck, and it was good for the programs. Now, obviously, anyone can leave whenever. So I would agree with you. I just think the era of everybody can leave whenever they want. I think the era of these G5 schools are usually a lot of times used as feeder programs, as like the quote-unquote minor leagues for some power fours that would just want to go pickpocket and just go get them. That's frustrating. I know Trent Dilfer has expressed a lot of frustrations in that regard. Tampering,
right?
People tampering with his roster, albeit they were 3-9 last year, so I'm not sure how much tampering was going on in that specific team. But no, I would agree with you. I think this game would have been closer a couple years ago. Now it's like, I mean, Tennessee beat ETSU. ETSU is different too, because again, it's still a relatively new program. But I mean, nobody should beat anybody 73 to nothing. Alabama, UL Monroe,
right.
72-17, something like that.
I mean, and ETSU faces that same problem too, where you want talent on your roster, obviously, and you want guys to be stars, but do you want them to be stars that much, like stars? Because if they're stars, they're going to get plucked. Somebody's going to come grab them. Somebody's going to come, throw an offer at them to come play at a bigger school and have a bigger opportunity. That's the struggle. And obviously with Group of Five, you're going to be represented in the college football playoff by somebody. And the programs that have done it well for a long time are the programs that succeed. The programs like Boise State. And I mean, what Alex Golesh has done at South Florida is obviously impressive because of the kind of the context that we're laying out here. But for Trent Dilfer, man, it's going to be such a long process. Like you got to have an athletic director and an administration and a fan base, honestly, that has that patience to know, like, this is going to take a minute. Like it's going to take a while to build this thing up. It's not going to happen overnight. And if it does happen overnight,
held on to him. On that note,
right.
though, they were so bad last year.
Right.
I'm surprised. And I don't have the note. I think it's like they lost by a combined. Oh, I've got it right here. They lost. They were 3-9 last year, and they lost those 9 losses combined by 189 points. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah. I mean, if you can show the slightest bit of progress year over year, then you have to have some patience with your coach at this level, in this situation. I'm not talking specifically about Trent Dilfer, but just any of these programs that are in this situation. Like if you're struggling and if you can just show the slightest bit of progress, it's something to hold on to and to maybe keep building, because it's going to take such a long time to build a program and to build a culture and to, build it the right way and succeed the right way. Because in this day and age, it just feels like the gap is getting wider and wider.
All right. Tennessee's going to beat UAB by a lot, and then the focus will go back to SEC play and hitting the road. It'll be a great test. Again, it's I don't want to make it just a Tennessee problem, because, like, I think it was Kirby that said the other, anytime you're on the road, it don't matter who you're playing, it's a good win. Like, winning on the road's hard.
Right.
Tennessee has struggled on the road. So Great challenge next week in Starkville against a team that's feeling themselves. It's going to be a great environment. Looking forward to that. Let's look around the SEC real quick today before we say goodbye. Couple minutes here. Arkansas on the road at Memphis. Why is Arkansas playing at Memphis? Why is Oklahoma playing at Temple? I mean, guys, let's grow up here. Like, this is Southeastern Conference. What are we doing here? Bad administration back in the day.
Why is Iowa State playing at Arkansas State on Saturday? And that was a tough game.
Butch got it done, dude.
That was I don't know. There was a Tennessee basketball game, maybe the first or second year of Rick Barnes, where they went to ETSU and they played in Johnson City. They played at Freedom Hall. And I was sitting there watching the game thinking how much fun it was to see Tennessee kind of in this environment. ETSU get a home game, but it's such a big-time opponent. And then after the game, I was talking to somebody, I won't name them, from Tennessee's staff, and I said, this was awesome. This is really fun. He said, I hope you enjoyed it. It's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What are you doing? What's the deal? Are you doing like a 2-for-1 instead of a home and home or something where they go to your place twice and you go to Arkansas State once, or I don't know, what's the deal? Why are you going to Lincoln Financial Field to play Temple in September if you're Oklahoma? Like, what's there to gain? Are you recruiting Pennsylvania that heavily?
I would say
if you're Oklahoma.
I think Hubs wrote last week that it might have been a 2-for-1. So okay, maybe like that makes sense. I mean, like the whole, like, especially in basketball because there's so many games. I know the Lady Vols have done this the last couple of years.
They're going to UT Martin this season.
Yeah, which is weird, but like every now and again, like Tennessee going to UTC, Tennessee going to ETSU, I think that's fun, like you said. It's just not going to happen an awful lot. But anyway, Arkansas is at Memphis. Arkansas is only about at 7.5, 8-point favorite. Arkansas can score. Arkansas can't stop nobody. No way do I believe Taylor Green's losing this football game in this quote-unquote hostile environment. I mean, that's the thing. Like, going on the road, Memphis is not going to have anything compared to what Taylor Green's played in before. I think Arkansas runs away from Memphis. I think that line is way too small.
Yeah, I don't trust Arkansas very much, and I don't trust Sam Pittman a lot, but I do trust Taylor Green to play well and to score points. I mean, they scored 35 at Ole Miss, and they're in that game late in the fourth quarter. I know it kind of got maybe a 2-score game there early in the second half, but I think they've been impressive so far. I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
All right, you've got Auburn and Oklahoma. Could be interesting. How good is Oklahoma? I think Auburn will be a nice little test. I think Auburn, talent-wise, is really, really good. I'm still not sold on the quarterback, even though you and I watched him tear up Baylor a couple weeks ago. You've got Oklahoma that is a 6.5-point favorite at home, according to our friends over at BetMGM. Oklahoma's look good, man. I don't think John Mateer running as much as he has in the early season is sustainable, but Oklahoma is legit.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's the home team, right? Because they had to go to Auburn last season. I think it's going to be a theme. You lean with the quarterback, or you lean towards the quarterback that you trust more. And obviously, John Mateer is that quarterback, and he's playing at home. And Oklahoma's got a little bit of juice right now after having a really, really miserable first season in the SEC. So I would expect them to keep playing well.
Interesting game coming up here. All right, you've got Ole Miss, an 11.5-point favorite at home against Tulane. Tulane is always that sexy G5 team that everybody wants to talk about, everybody wants to get on. Chris Brazzo, of course, had a really big year for them a couple of years ago. Tulane is 3-0, wins over Northwestern by 20 points. Wow. Northwestern's not a powerhouse, but still. South Alabama, you beat Northwestern by 20 points. You beat South Alabama by 2. Yeah, by 2, 33-31. And then you beat Duke, which is interesting because a lot of people were on the Duke bandwagon earlier this year, 34-27. So Tulane's playing some pretty good football. Ole Miss, who's the quarterback? Does it matter? I mean, I would play the Chambliss kid. I mean, Alton Simmons is a turnover waiting to happen, right? That could be interesting, but I do think in the Grove, obviously, Ole Miss should handle business.
If you're not watching on YouTube, Eric basically just did the cartoon, like rub his eyes to make sure he's seeing what he thought he saw correctly on that South Florida Tulane score.
I'm also South Alabama. Go Jags.
I mean, South Alabama.
USA, yeah. I'm also blind, so that's why I did that. But go ahead.
Ole Miss at home is hard to pick against, but also Summerall's his name, right? He's been extremely impressive as a head coach. Like, he's waiting. He's going to get hired away by somebody at some point, but he's been really impressive in what he's done at Tulane. I don't know if Tulane wins, but 11.5 seems like a lot of points.
Yeah, I would agree. Mississippi State, and it's 2-0 for Tennessee the following week, and it'll be hosting Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois, the team that beat Notre Dame last year, right?
Correct.
So watch out. Nah, I think State should be able to handle this one pretty easily. A 3-touchdown and then some favorite. You've got one that's interesting, right? Missouri, good start to the season. Missouri's 3-0, and hosting South Carolina that got embarrassed by Vanderbilt last week. South Carolina that I thought was overhyped coming into the season. South Carolina to where if you lose again, boy, that talk about Shane Beamer bolting is going to get louder and louder.
And there's a job opening that might be interesting to his family based on his last name at Virginia Tech. But I mean, I don't know what the status of the North Sellers is. I haven't done any research into that game or trying to figure out what their injury report's going to look like. I guess they got to start issuing one in the middle of the week. If you're listening to this on Saturday, I don't know what that injury report says, but it's going to come down to that. Missouri has looked good at times. They've looked poor at times against Kansas, and they found a way to come back and win that game, and they're impressive after a slow start in that one. So it's a Lenore Sellers question to me.
Bo Prabula played pretty good football here to begin the year.
Has.
So good for him. I did not have much stock in him coming into the year. Also, I'm always down to make fun of Eli Drinkwitz because I think he's a dork. I also think he's annoying because he tries to keep the things he says. He just tries to stay in the headlines, but I understand why, right? You're coaching at Missouri,
right?
Like, I get it. Missouri, I don't think that they're a world beater, right? But like back-to-back 10-win seasons, right? Missouri gets no respect. I still don't think they're good, but like Missouri gets no respect, even though I believe back-to-back 10-win season, which is just wild.
I mean, Drinkwitz drives people nuts, and I can see why. But at the same time, the ultimate sign of respect for an opponent is they're annoying to play against. Like it's not easy to face Missouri in the Drinkwitz era. That's not saying he's Bear Bryant or Vince Lombardi or whatever, but he's got tough football teams that score it well and seem to play well.
Tell you what, there's been some Drinkwitz to Florida talk like on social media, and like I've seen Florida fans like kind of scoff at that.
You could do worse,
but that'd be a good hire in my opinion.
You could do way worse.
Yeah, you could do way worse.
We might get tarred and feathered on the general's quarters for this conversation.
I'm just saying, like they could.
So it's another day that ends in Y, basically.
Yeah, another day that ends in Y. I just think where you are right now, you switch him for Eli Drinkwitz, significant upgrade. Again, I'm not an Eli Drinkwitz fan per se, but I think he's done a good job. Florida at Miami. I don't think this is when Billy gets fired because I think they have a bye week. I think it'd be the second bye week, but maybe it is. Who knows? Miami at home, top 5 team, a touchdown favorite, 7.5. Florida again. Maybe it's more to be with LSU, but Florida for it to turn the football over 5 times, lose by 10 in Death Valley at night. Holy crap, right? I mean, still Florida is a train wreck offensively. I think the spread should be much, much higher in favor of Miami, right? But it's only 7.5.
I was surprised to hear that. I would expect at least 10, 11, something like that. But I guess Florida has been as disastrous as it's been. What we've talked about in this podcast with their defense, only giving up 2 offensive touchdowns this season. Like, that's impressive. Obviously, Miami was impressive at home against Notre Dame. Everybody remembers what Miami did in Gainesville last season with Cam Warden. So it's hard to imagine a close game given where Florida is and the situation the Gators are in and what they're trying to fight out of. But man, that's going to be tough. It's going to get tougher every single week for Florida and Billy Napier because of the situation they're in, what they've done the last 2 weeks, and what they have coming up on the schedule. It's crazy.
All right. Just like Alabama's got Vanderbilt circled on its schedule all year long, those Commodores got Georgia State circled on the schedule after last year's defeat. Was it the opening week or week 2? Anyway, Vanderbilt looking for some revenge at home, a near 4-touchdown favorite. We're not even going to talk. We can talk about Vanderbilt just briefly. This game they're going to win, but Pavia's doing his thing. Eli Stowers, a great tight end. I think defensively they've gotten better. They're running the football. Clark Lee, again, we talked about this on the Tuesday podcast. If you watch any given Saturday and you saw his quotes, I don't know how you could have any time for him anymore. Saying I'm the savior of this program. I know that sounds, but I am the savior of this program. Freaking weirdo. But he's done a heck of a job, man. Vanderbilt's done a really, really good job, and certainly, that's not a walkover to end the season. At least it's not right now. That
is a really, really tough place to win football games at Vanderbilt. I'm talking about as Vanderbilt's head coach and to have success in that program. We saw James Franklin do it a decade or so ago. It's just hard to find that guy that can. I don't know, that wants that job, that wants to build that program, that wants to be there. He wants to be there. That he wants to be Vanderbilt's head coach.
That's his place. He played there, yeah.
Right, and there's something to be said for that. And I know Tennessee fans hate him. I know Tennessee fans hate his quarterback because of the Netflix stuff and all the stuff that was said. But man, they're winning football games. They're shutting people out in the second half. They're outscoring people by a bunch. Like, they're playing good football right now. I think they could be. I don't know what they have until the Alabama game, but I heard somebody talking this week about they're probably going to be undefeated when they go to Alabama, and everybody remembers what happened last year in Nashville. So that's going to be a huge game. So I don't know what they're going to look like November 29th. I don't know what Tennessee's going to look like then either, but they've been impressive early on.
Well, I think it's funny, like, you're talking about that Netflix doc. Like, as a college football fan, the Vanderbilt storyline is awesome. Like, you love it. Like, Diego Pavia is great for the SEC. He's great for college football. That's cool. From a Tennessee angle, it's just like, it's annoying. But also, I had somebody, like, reach out to me, or maybe I saw it on Twitter or something during the SEC doc, like when it was being released, and they said, I cannot believe I'm actually going to be rooting for Tennessee this year over Vanderbilt. But after watching that, I can't stand Diego Pavia, so I thought that was kind of funny.
He's brash. Let's just say that. He's confident.
Yeah, no doubt. Last one we're going to highlight, Sam Houston State. Didn't they just play Sam Houston State, Texas?
They played UTEP Saturday.
They played UTEP?
They played UTEP. Trust me. You can take my word for it.
Okay.
What are you Googling it for?
I thought they already played Sam Houston State. Well, Sam Houston State.
No trust on the GameQuest podcast. The trust has been broken.
The nickname for Sam Houston State, what is it?
Cougars? They got some
I
kind
don't know. I'm
of
asking
tiger paw or something on their helmet?
No, not the Cougars. Oh, they do have the claw. They are the Bearcats.
Man.
And they spell cats with a K. Bearcats.
How different is a cougar and a bearcat?
I don't know. What's the difference in a Stanley Nickel and a Stanley Nickel?
Shroot Nichols and what was it? Shroot Bucks and Stanley Nichols, and the difference in leprechauns and unicorns. The ratio.
Have you watched that new Greg Daniels the
paper? No,
show?
I've seen a bunch of promos for it. I need to check it out.
Boy, it's everywhere, and it looks like it's going to be trash. I'm not going to lie, but it is. I'm going to check it out for sure. They've got Oscar Nunez in that. I didn't know that.
I know.
Anyway, Texas 40-point favorites, 39.5. What's the deal with Arch, man? I mean,
it's one thing to not play well. It's another thing to have terrible mechanics while you're not playing well. It's another thing to be named Manning and look completely unprepared. I don't know if that's the right word, but just it just looks so sloppy on film, and that doesn't make sense. Like, your family has a passing academy. How do you not have the best mechanics of any quarterback in the country? That's what doesn't make sense to me. Like, and you're playing for Steve Sarkisian. He knows how to score the football. He knows how to play good offense. It just doesn't make sense that his feet aren't set. His sidearm throws, like different arm slots. Looks like he's trying to Patrick Mahomes some of these throws, and he's just off. That's what I think he'll be fine, and he's got enough talent that it can get corrected. But everybody expected him to be the Heisman Trophy winner from week one. It's just weird that it looks the way it looks on film.
Well, all that, I mean, shocker, right? Like, all that was so overblown. Like, know, Heisman favorite. Could this team tank to get Arch next year? I mean, come on. The dude hadn't even played a real season yet, right? But, like, I think he'll be fine. But it's weird. Like, I mean, the Mannings never had, like, the most talent in the room. They were just smarter, mechanically sound.
Prepared.
They're going to outwork you. And so, like, yeah, you're right. Like, coming from that family and knowing who your dad is a good football player. He's a wide receiver, not a quarterback, but you do have an academy. Like, how in the world are your mechanics that bad? So I don't know. We'll see what happens there. SEC this year's wide open, and this podcast is so long, and I apologize. The SEC is so wide open this year. I think it's exciting, man, and I think that kind of going back to the conversation about, where is Joey Aguilar in regards to SEC quarterbacks? Where's Tennessee in regards to SEC teams? I think both clearly in the top 5 right now, and there's a lot of football left to play, and we're not going to learn much about Tennessee today, but I think this is setting the stage for what should be a really, really fun year, man. I know Tennessee lost to Georgia. I know it's upsetting. I know it's heartbreaking. I know it's frustrating because you should have won that game. But I still think this is going to be a very exciting year. It has the makings to be something special. They can hit on some things and stay healthy.
It's wide open, and it feels like nobody knows because of the quarterbacks. All the quarterbacks that entering the season were being praised and hyped up and all this stuff, they're the guys that have kind of been struggling a little bit trying to figure it out, like an Arch Manning, and maybe Garrett Nussmeier's numbers haven't been what LSU fans were expecting or media was expecting going into the season. That's the thing. It's the favorites going into the year and the quarterback questions across the league and how this league just kind of cannibalizes itself to begin with every season. It feels as wide open as it's felt in a long time.
Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, if you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. That is T and Trial Lawyers. Special thanks to them for being the title presenting sponsor here at GameQuest. Free consultation if you have the need, alimony, personal injuries such as car wrecks, parental rights, custody, divorce, all that and more. If you've been accused of a crime, they can help you. Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185. Great people from Kingsport, Tennessee. Not many, I don't know many, but they are. They are great. I don't know any on this podcast, but for Spivey King, they're great people. Give them a call again for a free consultation. Final score prediction. Give me a final score prediction. What's it going to be, Grant, today?
Tennessee 59, UAB 12. I think there'll be a non-offensive touchdown or two. That could be defense. That could be special teams. That could be a combination of the two. I say it every single week, it feels like, on this podcast, but fast starts are fast starts. You can't overstate how important they are, even on these kind of Saturdays where it feels like you're going to be able to empty the bench, but you scored 17 against Syracuse in week 1. I think you scored 24 against ETSU in week 2. You scored 21 and looked excellent in the first quarter against Georgia. Do that again. Make that a habit. Make that a trend all season. Get off to a fast start. Click on offense. Don't be sleepwalking, all that stuff. Put up some points, win the game comfortably.
Yeah, I don't know. I hadn't thought about my final score prediction yet because, again, hadn't written it yet. But it's going to be a lot to a little. 55. I think my ETSU score prediction was like 55-10. Like, give me 55. Give me 55-10 again. I would love for it to be 10. Probably going to be 17. Which is unfortunate, but yeah, give me Tennessee 55-10, somewhere in that ballpark. My bold prediction, I'll stick with it. I said it on the round table earlier this week, and I said it earlier on this show. Like, Tennessee needs to get Peyton Lewis going. I'm not saying he should play and get runs and snaps over Thomas and Bishop because I don't think that right now. But there's going to come a time this year when Tennessee is going to need Peyton Lewis. He needs to be ready. He's got more talent, in my opinion, and this is no knock on the other two. Star Thomas, tremendous talent. Like, I've been so impressed by him. That's no knock. I mean, but just from a basis standpoint, I mean, like, Peyton Lewis has got all the talent in the world, all the potential in the world. Like, he needs to get going. I think he's gonna have a big day. Give me Peyton Lewis over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, and give me Tennessee to win 55-10 or something like that. This has been GameQuest, a Volquest.com game day podcast presented by Spivey King and Spivey LLP. Appreciate you guys. Stay with us all day long. We're going to be with you on the GQ. We'll have plenty of reaction to come. Once this game goes final, we'll be with you on Sunday and getting you set for Tennessee and Mississippi State next week. All that and more at Volquest.com. Thanks so much. Enjoy the game, everybody. Hope getting in and out of the stadium is better this week. It should be, but looking forward to seeing everybody there. This is GameQuest at Volquest.com.